one number keeps appearing whenever people talk about the Pura X Max, root 2. It's that famous irrational number, about 1.414. And surprisingly, it's the secret behind this phone's design. Both the outer and inner displays use a root 2 to 1 aspect ratio, which Huawei calls a wide format. We've seen large foldables, we've seen wide foldables, now we have a large, wide foldable. The original Pura X felt like a futuristic experiment, fun, unique, and a little unconventional. But the Pura X Max feels more polished and confident, like Huawei has fully embraced this design direction. It serves a different audience, similar to how the Mate X7 fits into Huawei's foldable lineup. But the real question is, does it actually work in daily use? Hey everyone, welcome back to today's frequent unboxing. Big thanks to my tech partner over in China for providing this footage. I really appreciate the support in making this video happen. Hey everyone, Stella here from techiestreet. If you're into staying updated with the newest gadgets, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our latest tech content. To understand the Pura X Max, we need to start with something simple: paper. More specifically, paper with a root 2 to 1 ratio, like A4 sheets. Here's the interesting part. Fold an A4 sheet in half, and the new sheet keeps exactly the same proportions. Fold it again and again, and the ratio never changes. That's why this format became the standard for everything from large sheets to small book pages. It's also why many books in China use this shape. And in the foldable world, the Pura X Max is still the only phone built around this idea. So today, we're diving into this unusual foldable design and why this suddenly popular root 2 ratio may be more important than most people realize. The story starts over 2,000 years ago. Around 380 BC, Plato recorded a discussion in Meno about doubling the area of a square. The solution was elegant: draw 4 equal squares and connect the diagonals. The square formed in the center has exactly twice the area. The symbol root 2 didn't exist yet, but this is considered one of the earliest appearances of the concept behind it. Jump ahead to 1786. German physicist Friedrich Lichtenberg proposed a paper format that would keep the same shape no matter how many times it was folded. His solution was a rectangle with a 1 to root 2 ratio, the same relationship between a square's side and diagonal. Then, in 1922, German engineers turned that idea into the DIN 476 standard, giving us the A-series paper sizes we still use today. This root 2 proportion is known as the silver ratio and is often compared to the golden ratio. But while the golden ratio is linked to beauty and aesthetics, the silver ratio is all about practicality, efficiency, and scalability. Before digital reading, books using this ratio were probably the most common portable reading format in everyday life. Even today, most screen ratios come from practical media standards. Cameras often use 3:2. TVs and video content use 16:9. Smartphone photography and many social platforms favor 4:3. And of course, there's the classic 1:1 square. That brings up an important question. With so many content formats, what kind of screen can display all of them while wasting the least amount of space? Which display gives you the smallest black bars? Traditional phones are great vertically, but feel too long when rotated. Foldables often have the opposite problem. The outer screen feels narrow, while the inner screen can feel too square. The Pura X Max takes a different approach. Thanks to its root 2 to 1 display ratio, it handles videos, photos, reading, and browsing with very little wasted space. No matter what content you're viewing, the screen feels more balanced and efficient, making better use of every inch of display. Before we move on, there's one important detail you should know. Technically, the screen ratio with the smallest black bars is actually 3:2. Sounds perfect, right? Well, not quite. If the inner display is 3:2, the outer screen becomes 4:3, which can feel a bit too square and slightly awkward for everyday use. Now, let's get back to reading. Unlike videos or photos, text doesn't have a fixed shape. Ebooks automatically adjust to fit the screen. But after hundreds of years of publishing, people have learned a lot about what makes reading comfortable. In Chapter 7 of The Walk of Books, Jan C. Schwartz explains that books generally fall into two categories. Large books are meant for reading at a desk, while smaller books are designed to be held comfortably in your hands. And that reveals something important. Great reading isn't just about your eyes, it's also about your hands. Another publishing expert, Chislow, noted that books on a table are easiest to read at about a 65-degree angle. When holding a book, the ideal viewing distance is roughly the width of 2 lamps. And most importantly, it should be light enough to hold for hours without discomfort. Interestingly, his ideal book size ends up being very close to the Huawei Pura X Max. Now let's talk about a key difference between the Pura X and the Pura X Max. The Pura X unfolds into a portrait-first experience. The Pura X Max, however, naturally opens in landscape mode. That's fantastic for videos, but for reading, not always. When text stretches across a wide screen, your eyes can lose track of the next line more easily. You may skip lines or reread sections without noticing. A vertical layout simply feels more natural. That's why I think the best way to read on the Pura X Max is with the phone unfolded vertically in portrait mode. I'd also suggest setting the text so each line contains around 25 to 30 Chinese characters. It's an old publishing guideline, but it still creates a very comfortable reading flow. And remember, it's not just about what your eyes see, it's also about how the phone feels in your hand. On the software side, Huawei has done a great job. Apps like Huawei Reading fully use the large screen. In landscape mode, they can display content in a 2-page layout, making reading feel much more natural. HarmonyOS apps like Xiaohongshu benefit too. Compared to more square, foldable displays, the Pura X Max can show an extra column of content. Even apps that aren't fully optimized yet, like Spotify, adapt surprisingly well. Whether you're using the inner or outer display, in portrait or landscape, the experience remains smooth. And there's another smart feature. If you switch the phone from one hand to the other, the bottom navigation bar can automatically move to a position that's easier for your thumb to reach. It sounds minor, but in daily use, it makes a real difference. According to Huawei, the Pura X Max was created through a 3-step design process. First, they focused on the inner display experience, especially content consumption, instead of starting with the outer screen. Second, they wanted to maximize screen efficiency and reduce wasted space. That led them to the Root 2:1 aspect ratio. Third, based on a viewing distance of about 300 millimeters and a comfortable viewing angle of roughly 30 degrees, they settled on an inner display length of 160.8 millimeters. But here's where things get even more interesting. In Emotional Design, the author explains that people connect with products on 3 different levels. The first is instinctive. The moment you see the Pura X Max, its unusual shape and proportions immediately stand out. It grabs your attention within seconds. The second is behavioral. After using it for a few minutes, you begin to notice the build quality, bright display, and smooth software experience. In many ways, it can exceed your expectations. Then comes the third level, the reflective level. This one takes time. After living with the device, you start asking bigger questions. Would I actually buy this? Would I recommend it to someone else? Or is it simply an interesting product to experience once? And that may be the most important test of all. As more foldable phones arrive throughout this year, we'll eventually be able to look back and see whether the Pura X Max truly earned its place at that third level. Thanks so much for watching today's unboxing. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!